Welcome to episode 328 of Pub Theology Live, a weekly conversation on life and faith over a craft brewed pint, a fine wine, or whatever happens to be in your glass. On today's episode, the Reverends Shannon Weston, Ogun Holder, and yours truly, Brian Burkoff, will address and engage what's happening through a theological lens with a good brew in hand.
And that good brew might still be in a pub theology pint glass while supplies last. And supplies, I think we need 4 glasses we got left. You can, oh, 5. You still have 5. We can get you one when you become
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming. When you become a subscriber at Patreon, you'll get to listen to and watch more content or pre and post show banters. Like today, we talked about Shannon get ready for big move and other
Fridges.
things.
So much about fridges.
Eating healthy.
Eating healthy or not eating healthy, rather. Yeah, you thought SpaghettiOs were just for kids. Apparently not. So yeah, fun stuff. So head over to patreon.com/PT live. Sign up today for just a few bucks a month. Get your pint glass. And as always, thank you to our current patrons.
Today we're going to discuss gratitude, other ways of thinking, and peaceful protest. So with that, friends, we need a drink. Or we don't need one, but we're going to have one anyway. So, Ogun, what are you drinking today?
I am. What is this? Estrella, the Estrella Dam. This is a Spanish beer coming out of Barcelona, and it's a pint, so it's not 5%, so it's not terribly strong. But I'm on an empty stomach, so this will be fun.
It'll be
That's
fun.
awesome. I've had just the regular Estrella, which is just kind of like a light beer. What's the dam part of it?
No clue. No clue.
It's
No clue.
They're like amber version or something.
That's what I wondered.
Yeah.
We can
The
we
red
can pour that
can.
outside.
Let's find out.
Let's see what we got here. Well, this is. Let me see.
Yeah, what do you got?
Oh, it's pretty light.
It's pretty light. It
Yeah.
it looks the shade of piss, honestly.
But it's going to taste a little better.
Here's hoping.
I hope so.
Here's hoping.
Brian, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a cocktail in a can, mojito with lime and mint. It is refreshingly fun.
Ooh, how
Your
fun
words are
for you.
yours.
Their words. Their words. 5% malt beverage, natural flavors. No, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you got, Shannon?
I'm going wine today.
Nice.
So this is J. Lore's Bay Mist White Riesling. So this is out of Monterey, California, and it's got a very pretty Monterey themed bottle.
That is
If you're
pretty.
into that kind of thing, which I very much am. So yeah, doing a little whiny today. A little whiny.
Very good.
Out of my Ruth Bader Ginsburg glass. So there we go.
Sweet.
It's hard to see. It's etched and whatever. So yeah. I think Derek felt bad. I like literally sobbed out loud, like wailed and tore my clothing the day she died. And
No
so I
doubt.
got a cup. He was like, "Here you go, honey."
Well,
A couple
cheers
days later.
to Ruth.
To Ruth. To Ruthie. Mm.
Also, she should have retired. She should have retired.
I don't disagree, but I also don't know what choice she had because it's not like they were doing any replacements.
Facts.
Indeed.
So,
Well, it is not Thanksgiving this week, although some have already done their shopping. But it is Thanksgiving next week, and we may or may not have an episode next week. So I thought I'd dive us into this a little. What are you thankful for right now? And then secondarily, what is your favorite pie to eat at Thanksgiving dinner?
I am grateful that I am not in the States right now.
Hmm.
Or more positively, I'm very grateful to be here in Lisbon.
Yeah.
And also very grateful that I will be here for most of December, possibly all of December. So I'm excited. I'm not in Christmas mindset yet, still a bit curmudgeon, but they're putting up all the lights. They haven't flipped the switch yet, but you can see all the light, decorations, fixtures across all the streets happening.
That's
The
fun.
Chris the Christmas village is almost done being built, it's still cordoned off, but it's still there. So I'm looking forward to see how the Portuguese do Christmas. So I'm very grateful that I'll be here for that.
Very cool. And this will be your first Christmas in Portugal?
Yes, yes, because last year, tourist visa ran out and we had to be out of here, and
That's
we
right.
went to Barbados, and I mean nothing beats a Barbados Christmas. I like a hot Christmas, and the food and all the things. So it'll be interesting because I'm living with someone who is, who's raised and is culturally Muslim. So she doesn't really observe practice. Christmas not a big deal to her. In fact, when she was with me in Barbados last year, it was her first Christmas ever,
That's right.
really. And but there's also a chance we might go to France to celebrate with her sister if her residency comes through before then. But I think I am more and more grateful of being here and enjoying making and building a life here and meeting people, and like I'm playing tennis regularly again. uh Monday night is now the official like bar trivia night, and we came our team came in second. We did not win the prize for the best name. Our team name was Quiz on My Face, which we thought would have been a good bonus, best name for team, but they weren't going for that. And so yeah, so I'm building community here, and really out of the kind of US mindset. I was watching Daily Show last night, and as I'm watching, like when I lived in the US and I'd watch Daily Show and like Jon Stewart doing his bit and all this stuff happening, I would laugh and be enraged at the same time. And now I'm just like, oh, that's funny. There's a part of me is like, that's happening to those people over there.
Mhm.
Yeah, the
Sort of,
anxiety's got to be less.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. It's also less because I live in a country with a lot fewer guns. I mean, practically no guns
Sure.
No doubt.
compared to the states, and people here are just, I think, overall just generally really nicer.
Hmm.
They're less stressed out, and like
Yeah.
11:30, they're out having lunch and drinking beers and smoking. Like
Right.
it's European chill, so
Yeah.
it's nice. Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Enjoy. What about you, Shannon? What are you thankful for?
What am I thankful for? I mean, I to like I just feel like things are coming together in a way that is good and right. Like our as we this is a weird way of describing what I'm grateful for right now, but the year after I graduated seminary, I took a church in New York and didn't know anybody and didn't whatever. And I went to this thing called the Early Ministry Institute, which everybody in their first 3 years of ministry is mandatory by our synod. And um, the woman that ran my cohort, who I adored and loved, she was like, "Tell me about where you were a year ago." And I was like, "A year ago, I was in one of the best community settings like I will ever be in my life, my last year of seminary, and like the communal place, like the my best friend literally lived upstairs, like the support, the way we loved each other, all of that. And I said, and what I feel really grateful for is that I knew it when I was living it. And like this is one of those times where like it's the last year that all the kids are in high school, like, or all the kids are home in school, that kind of thing. And like, I know that this is a precious time and I know it while I'm living it. And like, that I'm grateful that I'm aware enough to know that, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Love it.
What about you, Brian? Nothing, right? The
Yeah.
SpaghettiOs, right?
I mean, Yeah, grateful I haven't gotten sick yet after that lunch I ate.
Thank God
No.
for SpaghettiOs.
And then you go, uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Exactly.
Sorry. Pre-show callback.
Exactly. You got to become a Patreon member to get the details. Uh no, I'm looking forward. I always almost always get this Sunday after Thanksgiving off, so I get kind of a week break before we head into Advent, Christmas, etc., and we go up north. And all our kids will be there, including the two in college. So it'll just be nice to be together with the whole family. And my oldest graduates from college this spring. So like
Woohoo!
once you graduate from college, that's like, as
That's
Ogan
big
Big
knows,
time.
deal.
okay, then it's like, okay, you find a real, you start living an, the beginnings perhaps of an adult life. And
Mhm.
it just feels like the tethered to your family of origin starts to dissipate a little. So who knows what holidays look like going forward. So I'm going to enjoy this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be surprised if he has a little bit of an existential sort of like breakdown, crisis adjacent
I'm a
moment.
real boy now. I don't want to
Exactly.
be.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Like
But
Pinocchio's all excited to be a real boy, but like there's
yeah.
some like
Yeah.
put me back, put the strings back on. I'm good.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
for favorite pie at Thanksgiving, I
Yes.
prefer pumpkin. It's not my favorite pie in the world, but at Thanksgiving, I love a good pumpkin pie, and that's the only time of year I eat it.
Mm.
Same.
What about you, Ogan? Because I have a whole pie thing.
He's on
So
board.
No, I said I'm with the pumpkin. Yes,
yeah,
Thanksgiving, pumpkin. I mean, apple is good anytime.
Right.
yeah.
Um,
Apple's good
I'm
at 4th of
not.
July.
Yeah. I've realized for the years I spent being married to someone from the South that Northern pies and Southern pies are two whole different thing, right?
I'm
Hmm.
So like whole brown sugar pie and with pecans
Shoe
and stuff
flies.
on it, like
Yep.
shoe pie play. Yeah, it's a whole different, And me, who has a sweet tooth, it's very rare that I will say like this is too sweet, and like almost every other pie that the folks in the South make on Thanksgiving. This is too sweet. How are you all possibly consuming this? It's
Just give me a
it's
tiny sliver with some vanilla ice cream to
oh
balance
my
it.
god. Oh my god. It's the whole thing. But yeah, pumpkin pie with some, fresh, not from a can, actually whipped up whipped cream,
Yes.
you know, in the mixer. What's your old pie thing?
Okay, so we make pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie,
Oh,
pecan pie, and the kids insist, God help me, on chocolate pie.
Mm.
wow. I didn't see that coming. I was gonna say apple or blueberry, I thought was coming.
Yeah, I would do apple pie in a second. But again, apple pie. So I make an apple cake for breakfast, which is really,
Mm-hmm.
it's a coffee
Mm.
cake, but let's be honest, it's just cake. But
Yeah.
like I make I make an apple cake for breakfast, so that's where we get our apples. But like yeah, apple pie comes in, we do apple crisp regularly in
Oh,
the fall,
sure.
so by then
Apple
we're
crisp.
done kind of appley.
You've had it.
Um, but yeah, the kids don't like the sweet potato pie, even though it is far superior
I
to the
want to
pumpkin
try
pie.
that.
Well, in Derek's book is the rest his mom's sweet potato pie recipe, and that's what I make, and it is delicious. Like it
Book
is the
title, The Just Kitchen,
the
for those
Just
looking to get
Kitchen,
that recipe.
Derek Weston, like it is the best. It is on the last chapter, and I did the measurements because, she's a good African American woman that's like,
You
you
eyeball it.
do you do this, and which I totally get because I we joke around here that's like people are like, "Oh my God, your deviled eggs are so good. What's the recipe?" And I'm like, "Well, uh
Me too.
Pinch of
mayonnaise,
this.
mustard, salt, and pepper
Yeah. Pinch of this, a
mixed to
handful of
taste."
that.
Like
Exactly.
And a little horseradish.
and mixed to taste and you're done. Anyway, so if you get horseradish mustard, by the way, Brian, then you can,
That's good
you
too,
know.
but I also like some straight horseradish just to level it up a
If
little.
you Pro tip on not pies, but if you make hollandaise sauce, if you make it with horseradish mustard, It levels it up just
Oh, that
like
sounds good.
it is delicious.
I
Anyway.
do love me some horseradish mustard and don't have any.
Yeah, if you just get a little in your hollandaise, it is yeah, so we do that. But this year my daughter and I are the only ones that eat the pecan pie because it is pure corn syrup. That is what it is. Like when you make it, it is butter,
Yeah,
corn syrup, and brown sugar.
yeah,
Like
that's
that
it.
is the it, and then you put pecans on top of it.
Yep.
So like so I actually bought they just arrived today. I bought 6-inch pie plates. So they're like this
Mm.
big so that I could
Single
make a
serving.
yeah, I could make a mini pecan pie just for my daughter and I because we just want a bite of it. And like and by the way, my if you want my pecan pie recipe, it is Southern Living's pecan pie recipe from the
There you go.
80s. So just Google it. It's delicious.
There it
But if
is.
you want bourbon in it, you can also just put a little dash.
To taste and while cooking it, you know,
And also.
that goes without
and
saying,
and
I
and on the
So yeah,
side.
I would also
Anytime.
make apple pie, but again, like we like I also cannot stand a throwaway pie, but like by this many pies, like I
Okay,
can't. I
so
need to
here's a quick
stop.
question. Other than water, what are you drinking while you eat Thanksgiving dinner?
Wine.
I usually have red wine or white wine.
So I have white wine because I'm allergic to red wine,
Yeah,
but actually Derek has white wine too because of the turkey part.
and white goes with turkey.
Yeah. So white wine, and
I
then you switch to
mean,
bourbon later. So
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
bourbon with pie.
there you go.
Yeah.
If
We're
I want to
caught.
be bad, I'm sipping eggnog while
Wow, that's a
um
lot.
I mean
Oof.
it's Thanksgiving, man.
I
If you're
know, but I
not
feel like
what
that's
other
pre-dinner.
and dinner and post dinner.
Mm.
Like
You're
it's
not
not bad.
wrong.
Never a bad time for eggnog.
It feels a little too thick for me to have with all that food.
That's why you don't eat anything till it's time for them to
Till
eat.
it's time.
Exactly.
Oh,
Wake up, you
see,
don't eat nothing.
we don't like I'm anti Martha Stewart says you need to eat at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I think that's weird. We
That's weird
eat
because
at
the Lions are playing.
I agree. We eat at like 5 p.m. and like that's an early dinner.
I
That's
don't
when we
hate the later meal.
and like that gives me time. Then I don't have to like get up at the butt crack of dawn to get a turkey ready, and like I can take my sweet ass time, you
I think
know?
you
that's what
eat
we're
you,
doing up north.
you eat
Yeah.
whenever the food's ready. Like you're
Yeah,
right.
like
Don't get up at the butt ass crack of dawn. But when you
exactly.
wake up and you cook, and if the food's ready at one, eat at one. If it's ready at three, eat at three. I hate people saying lunch will be served at one, and that 4 o'clock is when you're sitting down. Don't
Yeah.
ruin my expectations
Yeah.
like that.
No, don't do
You
that.
know.
And I do
Yeah.
a big breakfast, and then I have a charcuterie plate out all day.
Exactly.
And then we eat at like
So there's no
five-ish.
lunch. You
Exactly.
yeah.
Table
Yep.
bacon.
Yep. So it's usually like a breakfast casserole, charcuterie-ish, and then I pull that away from the table at like 3:30. You know, I put that away at like 3:30, so we've got a good break.
Yeah.
But you got to
Man, I'm
expand the
excited now
stomach,
for
you know.
Thanksgiving.
I know now you're all set.
I'm ready.
I can't believe like my mind, by the way, is blown. Like Ogan, you were talking about Christmas. Like I'm like, Thanksgiving's next week? Like, what do you mean? Even though I just did all my Thanksgiving shopping,
I
I'm like,
know.
no, it's not.
So being in a country again that really does not observe Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
there's not
right.
that pressure here. So if I really want to get Thanksgiving, I got to go find some other American expats
Sure.
that are doing something or find a restaurant that's serving the foods. But again, not growing up with Thanksgiving being
Right.
a sort of an adopted holiday, I very much look forward to it. But also when it doesn't happen, no big
You're all
loss
right.
for
Yeah.
me. I'm all right. I take it either way. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll if even if nothing happens, you'll find some little extra treat and just say to yourself, "Happy Thanksgiving, Hogan."
Sure.
When you say a friend was coming, have him bring you some pie. You know,
Okay. Okay.
just bring me a can of pumpkin. That's all I need, and then you can make the rest.
All right, that's a lot of food talk. Here we
That
go.
is a lot of food talk.
In John 3:17, it says, this is the Gospel of John in the New Testament, "For God did not send God's Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him." Of course, this is coming after the famous John 3:16, "For God so loved the world, God sent his only son," etc. And then this is the next verse. So how do you understand this text and what work do you think the words condemn and save are doing here? How do you interpret condemn and save?
You missed an opportunity here because we were talking about food. You should have thrown in the "I'm the bread of life" verse and just like seg Same
Fair,
way.
fair.
Yeah, that's all I'm
Oh,
saying.
I do have high opinions on rolls on Thanksgiving too, but anyway.
There you go. Exactly.
Oh, oh.
Exactly.
Stick around for post show.
Stick around
For
for show. I'll
dessert
tell you about my
and
rolls.
rolls.
Tell you all about the rolls.
Ah,
Um, I mean, the way that I've read this is the like the judge like I so Jesus came in to teach us this new way of life, not because so the way that I read it is to say we needed to be set straight, but not in terms of like we didn't need to be judged. And I think of this more of like, not to overuse a parental metaphor, but right, like the way that you teach your kids or you love your kids in a way that says, okay, we need to learn to do this differently. Like you need to respond differently, but I'm not judging you for your response, you know?
I like
more
it.
more positive reinforcement, less corporal punishment.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. And so like and by the way, to me the salvation part of this is like for your sake so that you right now skip to another part of John, right? So you can have life abundant. So you can live
Yeah.
life taking care of one another. So your life can be easier because it's shared communally. That's how I view the salvation part of this.
I love that. I love that.
So I think my pre-unity sort of interpretation, like my unity take on this would be, that whole sort of metaphysical approach is if we look at God's Son, the Christ in us, as we are the embodiment of all that God is, and so therefore we have the ability to tap into all that God is, and we could either use that to do things that save each other, build up each other, edify each other, help each other out, compassion, all the fun things, or we can use those same abilities to wreak havoc on each other and the world.
Yeah.
So one of the teachings in unity is this idea of what we call the 12 powers. They're kind of based on the 12 disciples, but it's like a way of understanding when we say we embody the divine. Here like 12 spiritual gifts, you could say. One of them is imagination. You can use your imagination and come up with some stuff that benefits humanity, or you can use your imagination and create weapons of mass destruction. So,
Right. It's
so
like
for me,
a
condemning is destroying and laying to waste and saying it doesn't have value. So, it doesn't matter. Whereas save is this idea of how do we embody love with and for each other so that we lift each other up other than create systems that harm.
Yeah, I like that. And I think this is so good to come after this verse that's so often quoted and held up at signs. And a lot of the people who do the quoting and holding up of the signs will have a believe in Jesus or you're going to hell. And this is saying God didn't send his God's son into the world to condemn it, and we could wrestle with what that condemnation means, but I got to think that at least includes an idea of hell, or at least discounts that being one of the purposes, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I agree
Well,
with both of you that we are given this gift to live into our fullest selves, to live in tune with God, both in this life and beyond. And so
And for me,
salvation.
this is the invitation to focus on what is good
Yeah,
versus looking at
yes.
the world and saying the world is broken, it's a mess, it's not worth it's not us worth being the best versions of ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Versus like that idea of we're all inherently good, so there's still good in the world, there's still people doing good things, there's still you know but again, we get sucked into the news and the scrolling, and the idea of if it bleeds, it leads still functions in a lot of our press and our media. There's a lot of blood being shed, so it's easy to condemn the world now. The world's on
that's right.
fire.
And it's easy to be like Moses coming down from the mountain and say, you know what, I'm sick of these Israelites, Lord, just
Yes,
smite them all.
Right.
right,
But
exactly.
but the end of John 3:16 gets like I think the reason why they're two best taken together is because it ends with so that you may have eternal life
Yeah,
or life eternal. And like that is about a connection to the greater, what Jung would call the collective unconscious, right? Like it is about the connection to God and to the rest of the world and all of creation, not necessarily a heaven light years far, far away, right?
correct.
And so to then go from so that you may have eternal life, for God did not send God's Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world. Like this is very much right now.
Yeah.
Everything about these two verses is about life right now, not not someplace forever and ever, or saying magic words so that you can go to heaven. Like that's not what these texts are about. And again, that's your view of salvation. What is salvation? Um,
Yeah,
Well,
and
that's right.
that
That's right.
sorry, yeah, salvation is evolves. How we understand salvation has evolved over time, I think.
And it should, right? And I think a healthy spirituality does have a lot of our sort of concepts we've been given earlier in our faith or at a younger stage in our lives. Like we should turn them around and expand them and ask questions and so on and so forth. Or we end up with sort of a Sunday school level faith
mhm.
that, as we're seeing right now, can cause a lot of harm when it's grasped tightly to by adults in power.
Right, right.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to our next one, which says, a lot of people, including us, have found that hearing from different perspectives, engaging different perspectives, both challenges and expands our own thinking. So, in that light, hear these words from Paul in Romans 16:17. He says, I urge you, brothers and sisters, to watch out for those who cause divisions and put obstacles in your way that are contrary to the teaching you have learned. Keep away from them. So, how is what Paul's saying both helpful and potentially harmful?
I think it's helpful in that idea of, um, you know, you, division is the problem. We want connection, we want community. Division is basically, a tool of oppression, divide and conquer.
Yeah.
So we don't want that. However, we still need to be challenged out of our complacency. And another great teacher, Master Yoda, you must unlearn what you have learned, right? If you just stagnate, you will die. You have to keep evolving. You have to keep learning new things. So it's sort of the both end. You have to be able to discern, okay, here's what I'm hearing, and it is challenging me, but it doesn't mean that I have to set up necessarily a division between me and this teacher or this person that's challenging me. Or it may be a case where I might have to, because what they're saying is going to be harmful. It's going to cause harm. I'm not into that. Or it just
Right.
doesn't resonate with who I am.
Right.
So it's a little bit of the both and there's a spectrum. You got to decide where you landing on that, in terms of what's coming your way. So
And you
there's
have to
no
use you have to use some discernment.
yeah.
Hearing an idea that's contrary to what you've been told doesn't out of the gate automatically mean that's not something you should actually consider or
Right.
wonder
Right.
about. Like just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong. However, as you said, if it goes way beyond the pale or it's clearly harmful to yourself and others, well, yeah, then stay away from that.
And you also just don't want to be like being fickle, and every new idea that comes around you're like latching on to that and you're like all over the place. Right.
Correct.
Like again, somewhere in the middle of embracing new ideas, holding firm and fast to some well established ones that work for you. Understand that what worked for you,
Yeah.
when you're in your 20s won't work in your 30s. And as you get older, you embrace new ideas. Sometimes you revisit older ones because maybe you weren't ready for them then, you rejected something when you were younger, but now as you got older, you're like, oh, okay, I get it, that makes sense, and stuff like that. So you always have to be in this mode of, like you said, receptivity, discernment. What am I going to hold on to? What am I going to reject? But then also doing the deeper work of, okay, why am I holding on? Why am I rejecting? Because a lot of that is also very trauma informed. And a lot of that is also very, what do you call it? Reinforcing your view already,
Right.
versus really challenging it and see if it needs to be challenged. And again, a lot of us do this sort of experience. So I go to college in 94 and I am homophobic, evangelical, all the things. And I'm in college and it is my first experience of meeting, knowing, even sharing living space with queer folk,
Mm-hmm.
and absolutely going like, oh, this teaching that told me that you were a horrible person and I needed to guard myself against you was basically bullshit. And you weren't going to intellectually convince me, but experientially is a different story.
Yes. Yeah,
Right.
that's a great
And
example.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's interesting, like on the surface, I would sit there and this was my guess is that this is a portion about false prophets, right? And it very much is. It's at the end of the letter of the Romans. He's signing off and he's like, "Hey, I urge you against false prophets." The next like 18 is for such people do not serve our Lord Jesus, but their own appetites, and by smooth talk and flattery, they deceive the hearts of the simple minded. And
Ooh,
so,
wow, that sounds kind of relevant.
right, exactly. And so it's like, I mean, and by the way, this comes after the section, in like the previous chapter on, like, what does it mean to serve others and not ourselves?
Yeah.
And so also while you're serving others, be careful not to be swayed by others who are out for their own best interest and not for the interest of the community. And
Yes.
so I mean, I think that's where like this text can be harmful with like, what are the teachings I have learned? Are those my Southern Baptist upbringings, or are those what I have learned in this world of this that arc of scripture, that loving God and neighbor, is that what I have learned? So we need to be open and careful of our parameters, right? That
Yeah, I think that's perfectly said. Yes. What is sort of the core or the authentic spirituality that rings true and that is both experiential, as Ogun said, and also that stuff I've learned through scripture and direct experience and in my own connection to the divine, and what is sort of cultural amendations or additions that, you know what, that's not of God, and that needs to be sorted through and let go of.
and that's what
It's like Thanksgiving pies. Like you try a little of every
a
pie, but
little
it
bit of
doesn't,
every pie.
but you don't gotta eat every pie.
No.
And it's okay to not like some pies. Like I remember the first time I tasted a chocolate pie and I was like, are y'all kidding me? This is sort of deal.
Yeah.
Can't handle chocolate pie. Doesn't even
Oh,
make
chocolate
sense.
pie with a little
Mm,
Cool Whip.
no,
Let's
no, no,
go.
no, 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 no. But
I
again,
do
yeah,
buy the chocolate pie. I do buy it
yeah,
because
no,
Well,
I
no, no.
it's my protest to the kids. Like I
there
don't
you
care
go.
for you. But I think the point is that we're like the point is to be discerning. Like, I really do think that's Paul's point. I mean, Paul may have just said, just listen to me. But like, I think the point for us now is like, be discerning, right? Ask questions, follow through. And this is why I often, like, in so much of my work and what I work with clients on is like, so what are the values that they're trying to tell you? Like, what are they trying to teach you about themselves here? What do they want you to know by them acting this way? What did you learn about them, by acting this way? And like, now we can be discerning, like,
Yeah.
because if we have similar values, that's something we can work on. That's something we can build on together,
Right.
even if we're saying two different things.
Right. And how many churches and denominations also use this verse as sort of like a litmus test, right?
Exactly.
Like you can't hang out with people who are gonna say things contrary to our belief system.
Right.
You got to stay away from them. So a lot of people don't even open themselves up
Hmm.
to anything different from what they've been taught at their church, because basically this verse is telling them, nope, you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
Keep away from the people who are gonna make you think differently than what we're telling you to think.
Yeah.
Which has a little cultish feel that makes me uncomfortable.
It's more than a little.
Yeah.
Let's
And
call it
I
what it is.
mean,
It's a lot of cult. A lot of
I'm
cult.
not usually one. I mean, I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt here, but I am not the first person to defend Paul because of that. That might be what he's going for, and that I can't get on board with. And what I do think he's saying is be careful of people who are going to sway you in another direction than
Sure.
this new community in which I've come and taught you.
I
By the
think
way, he
that's right.
also says this after thanking a big long list of women for all of their efforts, hospitality, grace, and proselytizing. So let's look at it.
And he should have
Yeah.
just added, and if someone tells you that women shouldn't speak up in church, and then they try to use my name to say it, cut that shit out.
I agree.
There you go. There you go. He was a complicated fellow.
He was.
He,
He was.
listen, who wasn't?
All right, so there's been a number of engagements between clergy and ICE agents, and at least seven faith leaders were arrested at Broadview ICE facility last weekend in Illinois, including Reverend Michael Wolf. And there's been a photo that's been circulating where his face is near the concrete. He's being handcuffed. So he was praying, protesting peacefully when he was violently wrenched from the crowd, thrown to the ground by ICE agents. And when he asked the arresting officers to loosen the handcuffs that were causing his hands to go numb, an officer replied, "Nobody wants to talk to you. Shut the fuck up." And so this Reverend Michael Wolf says the dehumanizing nature of it is a spiritual emergency and gives me clarity about what's happening. Um, and so, do you agree with this assessment of this as a spiritual emergency in this country where we see ICE agents just at will taking people that they have no right to be taking? And how do you square these actions, both ICE doing what they're doing and this treatment of clergy who are protesting peacefully? How do you square that with an administration that says, hey, we're all about religious freedom?
Administration is about ready to like invade Nigeria because apparently Christians are getting killed in Nigeria.
And South
So,
America.
well, that's just for the oil. Let's be clear.
Fair.
That's for the oil. But apparently, this whole like, which I found out not too long ago was really being driven by Ted Cruz, weirdly of all
Mhm.
people, who is like pushing this. And I'm like, dude, what is your beef with Nigeria? Like, what Nigerian hurt you that you now got to do a whole thing. But yes, it is a spiritual emergency because the only way you can dehumanize someone else is to be cut off from your own spirit, is where I go with this. Because if
Yes.
you are a spiritual person, or, and I don't mean spiritual as in necessarily practicing, but you acknowledge that there is more to you than just the physicality that you see in front of you, that basically that human being sitting across from you is basically you, like,
Right.
so the only way you can do what you do as an ICE agent, as a white cop shooting a black kid, as fascists and people have done throughout history, is to see them not as human or a lesser form of human.
Yeah.
That's the only way that this kind of oppression works. So yes, it is a spiritual emergency because in order to do that, you are not in touch with your own spirit.
No, I agree. I mean, the work that has been named around the dehumanization of the way that we treat each other, the way that we treat people is manifest like completely in these ICE agents. Like to the point that they cover their faces so that they're not identified because they're like it's like the toy soldier, right? Or
Yeah.
the like what's the Iron Man where they're all right like we're not humans in this moment, and therefore we don't have to extend that, you know, humanity to you because we're
Right.
above it right now.
And do you think
Um,
there's a little bit of shame in that masking up as well? Like,
I,
I don't want to be identified because I'm doing bad stuff and I don't want people to know it's me.
So
so I think that that is an unconscious, yes. I think, and I hate that I think this about other human beings, but I think that there's a lot of pride in that.
I was gonna say less shame, but also more. I don't want done to me what I am doing to them.
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation.
Yeah.
Yep.
And,
Exactly. Because I
but I
know
also
that
think
if
they're
my
being taught
face,
this.
well, yes,
Yeah.
I know if I am identified, say like, I'm being ice agent on the weekends. I'm part-time ice.
Part-time
From
ice.
Portugal. Yeah,
Part
of course. Well, I'm with you. Tracking.
yeah,
Yeah.
part-time ice. And I still got another job going on, or I got family members or whatever. If I'm identified, then yes, I will both be celebrated by one side, but also attacked by another. I may lose my job. I will be people will rise up to say, how can you hire and employ and be identified with someone who does these dehumanizing acts? So it's
Yeah.
not shame. They're not covering their faces out of shame. It's what you said, preservation of their own life, and they don't, again, while they take the lives of other people,
Yeah,
right? And I don't mean killing, but they're destroying lives,
they
and
are.
they don't want their lives to be destroyed, which is the hypocrisy of this whole thing.
No doubt.
And
No
I'm
doubt.
not again, I'm not trying to dehumanize. In fact, I see this as very, very human, but I do see it as like some of the worst of humanity,
Yes.
which is like my guess is, and I haven't seen statistics on this because I don't think they're releasing any, which is how many people left the police force to do this job because the police force was actually too restricting on their use of
Yeah.
force. How
Right.
many people are former military that are doing this job because of the, you know, what they got right? Like there is a we have created a mechanism. Let's be honest about this. We all have the capability because we're human of this type of behavior.
Sure.
And most of us wrangle that in from the better angels.
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
but our government has created a mechanism legally and encouraged that side, like, what am I trying to say? It's exploiting the worst of humanity.
It is. You got these frustrated bros who always aspired to be Miami Vice, but instead they're part-time ice.
Okay,
Right.
that's not
But
the time.
No,
but
sorry.
but but also I love the fact of the reports that they're being rejected because like they can't do 50 push-ups.
Well,
Like,
Right,
that's what I
right.
mean. They're
yeah,
they're
yeah,
hiring people totally unqualified.
Yeah, yeah.
right. Exactly.
But there's also not like, in fact, they're looking for like my guess is also these are people that got rejected. Like they're
Yes, I
either
was about to say
former
that.
replaced or they got rejected from the police force because
Yes.
not just the physicality, but like their psychological profiles said you just want to hurt people. And like
Yeah.
ICE is like, yeah, bring it on. But again, we all have that capability of being the worst of humans. And like it is a choice not to be that. It
So
is.
you said something real interesting is like now then our challenge is to not dehumanize them, the ICE agents,
It is a challenge.
right?
It's
To
a
do
big
that.
one.
Why'd you
I
have to go there, Ogun?
I do I do so the other podcast I do with Love and Justice for All with my friend Kelly, we had an episode recently called the authoritarian in the mirror, right? That idea of, when do we, the quote unquote good people, when do we also embrace those authoritarian traits and they show up in the relationships we have with other people?
Sure.
We mentioned parenting before. Like, you could be an authoritarian parent, you could be in a relationship with someone and you're like, well, I make more money in this relationship, therefore I'm entitled to more and I can make more decisions and that sort of thing. Those traits show up in us too, and that's the challenge. To look at the ICE agents, look at the people in administration right now, and go like, yeah, that could be us. It's not so far fetched to believe, because we also embody those same qualities. But yes, we've learned how to not just rein them in, but realize that it doesn't benefit us. That when we dehumanize another, we are dehumanizing ourselves. When we harm another, we are ultimately harming ourselves.
Mhm.
And we see this now in the folks who, voted to put this administration in power in order to wreak some havoc on other people. And now they're realizing, oh wait, they're actually not doing anything for us. Food prices haven't gone down.
Right.
Farmers are praying in circles because nobody's coming in to work the fields. We just saw, what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and
Yeah.
some other Republicans are breaking ranks because they're like, this, we backed you, but you're not governing the way that we thought this was gonna go. Like, it's all unhinged right now. So it's really challenging, for example, to see Trump and not dehumanize him. Because if we're dehumanizing Trump and the ICE agents, we are no better than them. We're not going to act on it. We're not going to go, beat upon them physically and arrest them. We don't have the power to do that. But even if we did, this is back to that condemning versus saving.
Mm-hmm.
And that begins with ourselves. So if we are condemning other people, then we are no better than them
That's
who are doing
right.
the
And
actions.
yes, I think that's well said. And I think that the goal then is to condemn actions,
Yes,
not the
condemn
people, and
Right.
actions and
understand that
Yes.
policies
people are
and
caught up
leadership.
in systems bigger than
Yes,
them,
yes.
Yes.
and they themselves are potentially victims in something
which
bigger than
is which
them.
is now the hard work when some of these people see the light and go like, we want to come back into the compassionate fold.
And we're
Are
all
we
like,
going to let them
no,
in?
no, F you.
Well, no,
Take this pie and go. We're not.
Yeah.
but
No pie for
A,
you. No pie for you.
but like breaking this down for a minute, right? Like if we dehumanize, then we feel that we are above the responsibility of the system that they are working in that we have all created.
Mm,
No, I didn't vote for Trump. No, I didn't want this. But I perpetuate a system by living in it. This is the social sin reality. This
yeah.
is the corporate sin reality. And so if I'm dehumanizing, then I'm taking myself out of the responsibility that I have as a citizen of this country. The other thing is that I have to go to in that place is they are offering a living wage for this work for people that do not, but without a lot of qualification. And so for some people, this is the choice they
So
have to make for the
it's
sake
a
of their
lifeline.
family.
It's a
It's a
lifeline for some
lifeline, much
people.
like the military is for some people.
For
Yeah.
sure.
And that's hard to swallow. But again, we are all participating in the system that created this, whether we like it or not.
Yes.
And so I can't remove myself from that responsibility of it. Um, Again, do I think that this any of this is okay? Absolutely
No,
not.
no, it's not.
Like absolutely not. And I can do both, right? I can take the responsibility that is mine to take, which is very little comparatively, but like also see that person, meet that person eye to eye. Um, and I agree. Like it is absolutely a spiritual emergency. This I go back to that Ta-Nehisi Coates, moment of when the interviewer years ago, when the interviewer was like, "Where's the hope?" And he's like, "I'm not in the hope business. Like, go ask a preacher." And so, like, that's where I go to in this moment is it's not that I'm in the hope business, but if this is a spiritual emergency, like that's now we're talking about my realm. And I'll say what I said during the pandemic. We have a moral failing that is showing desperately right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so what are we going to do about it? What like and that's the question for all of us that live in the spiritual realm. What are we going to do about it? We're going to stand up, we're going to say it's not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And continue to invite people to, while we object to the actions and the policies, we do that from a place not dehumanizing the
Right.
people who are enacting these
Right.
actions and policies. And that's a hard road to walk.
Well, it is without going, right? Like without saying, like, well, the Nazis were just doing their jobs. Well, yeah, they were. And at some point, you get to such an egregious place that your humanity is on the line. And
Yes.
we are at that place with these ICE agents, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Your humanity is on the line.
Yep.
And so you have a decision to make. You have a personal decision to make, and we have a corporate decision to make. So
Yeah.
go to the polls for the corporate decision, like, but also you're not going to get anywhere by dehumanizing the person in front of you that is an ICE agent by telling them that, I don't know. Maybe we do go back to John 16 and go, well, you're condemned to hell.
I know. I know.
I don't know if that would get through. Maybe I could change my theology. Sorry,
I
Paul. I'm going
know.
to switch over. You know,
Wow.
maybe we need to go back to fear. I don't know.
But again, to that the end of that question, administration that purports to champion religious freedom, if part of your religious indoctrination is that this is what you have to do, then as far as these people are concerned, they're doing God's work, right? And this is what Christian nationalism tells us,
Yeah.
tells
Well, and
them.
that's the pernicious part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And
that's
also
the
then
false prophet part of it,
it is
right?
a false prophet
Like,
part of it, but then they will quote Romans 6:17 that will say, stay away from people like us who's going to challenge what you've learned.
and
Man.
so that, I mean, listen, I don't have an ICE agent in my life, right? But I think that's part of it is like, where do you, what does that conversation look like? To
Mhm.
say, I I don't know. I would be interested in that. I mean, I'm thinking about so there was a video of I forget his name, but like a National Guardsman who was at a protest and he was in his full gear and there's a video of him mouthing the chant of the protesters.
Nice.
And he was a black man and it was like, and at that point you're in the National Guard, right? You didn't,
Mhm.
it's not an ICE agent. Like you didn't sign up to be there.
Right.
But you were like, you're supposed to follow your orders. You're getting your school paid for. Your family's putting food on the table by joining the National Guard, et cetera, et cetera. Like, but like he is mouthing the words of the protesters. And I mean, like his loyalties are clear.
Yeah.
Um,
Love it.
and so it's an interesting, like, what do
So
you do?
what you do again, and it's easy for me to say as a person who doesn't have to feed a family in that way, but you try to figure out how you get out of that position, how you resign from the National Guard. So
Right.
like what you do is you go job hunting, and I know this is not the economy for job hunting, but if you are standing to protect people from the protesters that you agree with, like you're kind of ripping yourself in half here. And that's no way to live. That is no way to live.
Right. And
So
most National Guardsmen are part-time, like
they are, and
they're
I'm
doing it
sure
on the
they're
weekends and
also waiting for, like, you know what, the administrations come and go. We've been in the National Guard for 20 years. Administrations come and go.
right,
We will wait this one out,
right,
and fingers crossed this one comes to an end.
right.
you know,
Yeah. I mean, my
so
sister-in-law's in the National Guard. I mean, she's former Army, now in the
yeah,
National Guard, all of that. And as far as I know, I mean, well, not as far as I know, she hasn't been sent anywhere, but like, this is a lifelong, she's been in this forever. But yeah, what do you do? And again, you've signed something that says 3-year commitment. Like you can't just quit. You'll be thrown in jail, that kind
right,
of deal. And so you show up mouthing the words of the protesters, right? Like you do what you can. And again, you do what you can to say, okay, I'm going to stand here because it's my job to stand here, but we are not rushing this crowd. Like we are not
yeah.
doing anything stupid. You control what you can control. But again, I don't know. I just don't know how you see what's going on with these ICE agents and it being the people in their lives not say something. I
Well,
don't know
I
how you do
mean,
that.
for some of those people, you agree with them. you
I mean, one of
know,
the things and again, this is where I pray, like I ask for forgiveness of my own sins, which is like, people, this is what they asked for. Like
Mhm.
this is the crisis we're in. So it's not just a spiritual crisis of these individual agents. Like the spiritual crisis that we're in is that however many millions of people voted for
Yeah.
this man,
And are
but like
loving it
for this,
for
this
this.
like
Yes,
he
exactly.
said he was going to do this, he is doing it. The reality is what he said he was going to do. Like I'll quote Hillary Clinton, believe him,
Yeah.
like, you know, and this is what they voted for. And like for
Yeah.
that, I'm going to ask for atonement because I don't know. Not because I did it, but just
Yeah.
because. Anyway, sorry, I'll step off that soapbox, but
No, we're going to squeeze in a little wisdom from the Bhagavad Gita, an ancient Indian scripture, which says in 2 verse 48 says, perform your duty equipoised. A new word for me, equipoised, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. So let's discuss why that's so hard to do, to do whatever your duty is and let go of the results. And what is the benefit of doing that?
So I mean, this is in the Buddhist context, non-attachment
Yeah.
and impermanence. And when we have attachments are rooted in fear. So this is an invitation to not live in fear. And that's all I got to really say about that. Because another Buddhist teacher of mine, Tara Brach, she says fear is the anticipation of future pain. And
right.
we don't like to be in pain. So I think that when we jump into something, when we're doing something, whether it's work, relationships, whatever, we tend to also, how do I navigate this so that I never get hurt? Because failure is pain, whether the relationship fails, you lose your job, whatever it is. Failure, we interpret failure hurts us. When we fail at something, it hurts. And we don't want to encounter hurt, experience hurt. Nobody likes pain, physical, emotional, spiritual. Nobody likes pain. So we do our best to avoid it. The problem is then when we set up things to avoid pain, it becomes a self fulfilling prophecy because those things end up being the pathway to failure.
That becomes sort of
Right.
the unconscious motivator or blocker of,
Exactly.
yeah.
So if we're in a relationship with someone and we don't want the relationship to end and we're afraid that it will end, often we can become more controlling. We can become more like we got to set up agreements and parameters so that there's less freedom, right? But we can also do things like I'm gonna love you harder, but again with that expectation that um it means this relationship will not end. And
Well,
there's
it's
there's
yeah, our ability to self-sabotage is very high,
it's
right?
very high, and there's no guarantee that any
Right.
relationship is gonna last, at
I
at
yeah,
at all. And I so this is so it's really interesting because as a person who was once monogamous and now polyamorous, there's a lot of people who bring this argument to me like how how do you avoid getting hurt by different relationships, or like how do you, and I'm like, no different than me worried about being hurt when I was monogamous. This is not a relationship thing. This is a I have made peace with the fact that any relationship I get into now, whether I decide to be monogamous or not, I already have made peace with the fact that this relationship might end.
You are equipoised.
I'm equipoised and abandoning attachment.
so so I'm
And
gonna
that frees me up because now
Sure.
I'm not trying to control the person. I'm
Yeah.
not, sort of deal. Go ahead, Shannon. Sorry.
well no, I was just gonna say like what I don't I think there's freedom in the I don't get to determine what is success or what is failure. So it may not. So I'm going to take this to Thanksgiving dinner for a second, right? So
Back to
I'm
the
going to take it
pie.
of me to you of like, if my goal at Thanksgiving dinner is to get you on my side of my argument or my, let's just, even if it's as stupid as sweet potato pie versus pumpkin pie, right? Like
Yeah.
they're basically the same pies, but they're not. And like, if we're arguing about this, like if my goal is to, I success is that you agree with me by the end, right? And failure is you don't agree with me. Like, why would I go into discussions that way? Now take it to your racist uncle, right? Like, if I'm going into the conversation, not compromising myself, but also not with the goal that you have to walk away believing exactly that as I do. Because the way that I read this is, I don't know what that conversation is doing to you. And so I can walk away going, damn, I didn't turn Uncle Bernie around. Like, I failed, but I don't know what he took away. I don't know what he heard. I don't know what's going on. Right? Like, this is where, like, the way I would describe it is, I don't know the working that God's doing
Yeah,
on
you
him in
maybe
that
planted a
moment.
seed.
Exactly. And so this is that curious, I feel like we have a theme of like curious, not judgmental today,
Yep.
I'm open to it. I'm open to the conversation. But if my goal is changing your mind, or, and again, this can be self too. If my goal is to be a better human being or a more compassionate human being, I learn just as much from the quote unquote failures as I do from the successes. And so who's to say, right?
But also, if you go in with no attachment, there are technically no failures or successes. It's just what happens.
And
Well,
that's
that's
my
right.
point. Like, yeah, that's pretty much right. Then it's kind of like every situation I'm kind of walking away going, so what did I learn? What did I experience? What's going on? You know, I'm
And
just
often it's
reflecting.
others who are doing the judging of the assessing that was a failure, that was a success. And if you are simply doing the thing you feel led to do and doing your best with open hands, like, well, maybe this will be received well, maybe it won't. Like, I feel like as a preacher, that's something I try to practice every week
Right.
because you put yourself out there after you write this sermon, but I have to have those open hands of letting go how it's going to be received and just do the best I can and trust I have something to say and that the Holy has something to say through me and then let it go, good or
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah,
And I
there will always be people who love the sermon. There will always be people who don't love the sermon, and there will always be people who forget about that sermon by the time they hit the parking lot.
Because they were
So
half asleep halfway through.
exactly. So
and that just because they stayed up late drinking, and that has nothing to do with you.
Indeed.
exactly.
Whoops.
Exactly. I honestly, and the other piece of this is when we talk about success and failure, how are we defining and determining that, right? What are the unconscious cultural influences that tell us what success and failure is? So, as someone who quote unquote checked all the boxes for the American dream, right? I got married, had a kid, we got a house in the suburbs that different houses. One of them literally at one point had a white picket fence, right? So we checked off all those boxes, and there was like I never felt thoroughly fulfilled
Right.
and happy, right? I feel that now when I don't own property. I am only committed to doing work that I love to not pay bills. And however life is going to work out with what I make, I'm going to be content with that. Yes, I can easily say that because I'm not responsible for another human being, and providing for other human beings right now. So it's easier for and a privilege for me to say that. So I'll acknowledge that. But even and when I was married and Joy was younger, yes, I did work that I absolutely hated because I had the responsibility to feed my family.
Sure.
So did that too. Now that I have a choice, what am I gonna choose to do? And by a lot of cultural metrics, I am a failure at 51 with you know ridiculously low income and barely any money saved for retirement. Don't own any property. Like all the metrics
But
of
your backhand is improving.
cap, right? It is like I'm gonna, yeah, exactly. So like right now, there's nothing happening in my life that I am not unhappy about,
Which is
and
amazing to say.
which ultimately is what you know people will tell you, or culture, American quote unquote dream, call it the gaslight, will tell you if you check all these boxes, you will be a happy person. No, you won't, or
Right.
some of us won't be, right? We define what success, what failure, what happiness is for us. But again, that non-attachment is the key, I think, and be willing to embrace that I can be fully committed and all the way in, and at the same time, the both and at the same time going, I also know that this could end tomorrow. And have I made peace with that? Because the only
Sure.
way I can truly be free in this is if I've made peace with it. And the grief I've suffered really taught me that as
Mhm.
well. That was like the biggest takeaway from all the deaths I've experienced in the last 10 years. That, yeah.
And I
I,
think,
I, okay,
oh, go
Brian.
ahead.
Mm-mm.
Well, I was just going to say, I think in addition to non-attachment, there's an authenticity there that you've learned more of who you are and embrace that, regardless of how others want to perceive or layer over their own perspectives of what you should be doing or shouldn't be doing. And you're like, no, I'm being true to me. And you know what? That's what's meaningful. And
And it's
I'm
always
free to do
fun.
that.
Yeah, it's always fun when people like ask me, "Oh my god, you looking great, feeling great, sounding great. I want some of what you have. How are you?" And I tell them, and they're like, "Yeah, no, you're not getting that."
Well, and this is exactly to my point of what I was going to say. Like, I used to have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, but I don't right now. But like, what does perform your duty mean? Like, what's the duty we're performing? And again, I'm taking that in a context that is being true to yourself and living, living into your who you were created to be, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you follow that rule, if you follow that path, if you've made peace with yourself and who you are, these things are easier, right? Like I part of the reason like I like being attached, quite honestly, but I'm very much open to your point, looking forward to not owning property for a little while. Like there's a lot of pressure that comes with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Like I'm very much looking forward to saying, buy house, I'm gonna rent for a while and
yeah,
see how that goes. But like I like being part of a family and a community and being attached to people. And I know that I'm not in control of all of that. I know that I am not the center of those worlds, right? Like, so again, all of this can be determined. What is success? What is failure? All of it of what does it mean to live life fully? And again, that's more of my understanding of scriptural language, but of what this is getting at. What does it mean to live life fully or to the fullest or a life abundant in a way that is not meeting someone else's standards or compromising myself.
yeah, yeah. Well said.
Boom.
Well said.
So thank you, friends, for tuning into Pub Theology Live. You can show your love for the show by becoming a supporter on Patreon. Get access to pre or post show banter and more. Visit patreon.com/PT Live to get started. And a big thank you to our current patrons. You can watch full episodes on YouTube. Our top cities tuning in this week are Los Angeles, California, Santa Clara, California, and Jamestown, New York. If you'd like to start a pub theology gathering in your town, find support or resources at pubtheology.com.